Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Moments podcast. I'm Tracy, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-exploration and discovery. I've been thinking lately, and I've been thinking back to myself, just kind of reflecting on my projects, various projects, of course, but in particular, I've been thinking about my unfinished projects. You know the ones. I know y'all know the ones. I start them with every intention to see them through. But then, day after day, I come back and the flow is just not there. It's just not quite right, And some of these projects, they've been open for days, weeks, months. Some of them have been open for years. And that always brings me back to a moment. And I have an example for this. So my dad and my sister, my oldest sister, they both they love doing puzzles, and I'm talking the big puzzles, those 1,000-piece puzzles, and I've never really understood it, and I've talked about it with my mom. We talk about it pretty often, and we're always just so amazed, because there's a level of patience that goes into that, and it's just wild to me that my dad and my sister both have this ability to see something that is so massive, so chaotic, so seemingly large, and I'll see them dump 1,000 of these pieces on the table, and I've noticed that for them, it's just about starting, and sometimes they begin with the corners, and maybe sometimes they start with the middle if they're completely insane, but I've noticed that I will always see the puzzle in various states of finish, I haven't seen them sit down and look at this puzzle and put all 1,000 pieces of the puzzle together in one single go. I haven't seen it be done. It's almost like the puzzle just kind of lives on their table for a little while. They eat, they chill, they take phone calls, they do life. And every time I check in, every time that I get a glimpse of their status, of where they're at on completing the puzzle, another section is done. Another corner, another piece of the picture is all of a sudden coming into view. And it's taught me a little something about how we can let things come together when they're ready to come together, without forcing them. And instead just allowing. And if I'm gonna keep it a buck, I will say that I've noticed that that's a lot of how my creative life also works. It's sometimes I'll have, for example, my podcast, and I'll have various ideas and various concepts that I want to unpack and explore. And it's the same with my other creative art projects. It's all the same. Some days I'm in the zone, I'm knocking out a whole corner. Other days, nothing fits, and I just walk away. I go on, I do something else. Sometimes I realize halfway through that I don't even care about the puzzle I started. And that's fine. The good thing is that the puzzle and all of its pieces will still be there. You can box it up. You can work on it later. You could give it away. Or you can just leave it all out on the table. No guilt. I've learned that what matters most is being present with the pieces in front of you. I've noticed that there's no need to stress about the picture on the box or worrying about how it's going to come all together, how in the world you're going to find those other pieces so that you can complete the edge or complete that border. I've learned that progress happens when it happens, and some things don't get finished. Some projects, for some projects, it's actually required that they sit until you're ready for them. It's required that they breathe. It's required that you allow enough space and time to allow that project to develop. So, if you're like me, and you're finding yourself surrounded by a few unfinished things, or even sitting in the middle of a mess of pieces, just know the pieces are still there. All of the pieces that you need, you still have them. They're still there on your table. Even if you decide to box them up, there's not one piece that's missing. And keep in mind that we're all putting together our own puzzles, and you're just living your own puzzle, one piece at a time. And if you decide to put it all back in the box, that is so okay. I've learned that the art is in the process, not the finish line. And that's all I've got for you all today. With that, be here, be you, be now.